Hi everyone watching, thank you for being here. Welcome to this exciting discussion with Shirley, who I know is a theta healer and a trader as well. Well, she doesn't trade now, but she knows a lot about trading. So we will be discussing intuition and trading, or money in general. Welcome. Say something about yourself.
Okay, I'm Shirley Joffe. I'm the Joyful Abundance Activator, and I'm the creator of the Joyful Abundance Blueprint. So it's a whole system, my own modality that I have created over the last few years, and sort of over the 20 years that I've been working in this field with many different modalities. I love money. I used to work in corporates. I was actually working for investment banks. I was the head of the investment banking division for quite a while in training and development. Worked with lots of like amazing brainiacs, and really loved to follow I really enjoyed, I started with trading in shares first, and then I moved on to Forex, spread betting. I've done some binaries, touched on options, but I love the fast pace of the spread bet, of the Forex. I used to work on the, I did some long term and I did some short term, but my speciality was, there are two specialities. One was the UK morning, certain currency pairs, and then the other one was scalp trading, because you do it minute by minute and I'm really fast. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and my sort of money background, which it's so fun.
That's good to know, because all these questions I was going to ask you, like, what did you trade? And okay, how long were you trading before you started being profitable?
So I started off with, so I didn't start off demo trading. I used the demo platforms just to get an idea of how to, the functionality in and out, how to set your stops, how to run the trade, multiple stops. So each broker that I worked with, I would always set up a demo account first, and I would test my strategies. It took me probably about 6 months before I was profitable, just purely because you go through the initial emotional stuff. And once you've been through the emotional stuff, this was my, I used to, people who were new would come along to me because I was really good at getting them out of that. There's a real psychological setup that you need your brain to be in order not to get caught up if you are doing short-term stuff. When it's long-term, you've got the time to do all your technicals, to do all your fundamentals, before you actually set the trade. And oftentimes when you're doing a long-term trade, you're actually not placing the trade straight away. You're actually waiting for the market to come to you. Yeah. So it gives you time to get over the emotional wave. But when you're doing short-term, I did a lot of news trading. I love news trading. So I would stay up for the US all through the night, like, all night, and trade elections and that kind of thing, where you're literally moving on impulse and momentum. So yeah, it took me about 6 months or so.
That's good, really good. I have been trading about 2 months now, and my account is like a little bit profit, a little bit down. So it's maybe the same, but it's good. Good. I keep learning. So then, okay, my intention is really to help people who are like us, very aware of the energy, and they go into trading or crypto and things like that, thinking that, yeah, they can only do this based on their intuition. Do you think that they can? Yeah.
I think that the intuition is a strong thing, but I really think that you do need to have an idea of good technical analysis and to know what news events mean for currencies. That's really important. When you put those two together, when you've got that foundation, then your intuition can kick in on a basis of knowledge. It's the same as when we do healing. When you start, things come up. I'm very clairvoyant, very clairsentient, okay, auditory. But sometimes the things that come to you through your intuition can be quite abstract. So it's similar to building your intuitive library when you're doing healing, is the same as you're building up your trading base knowledge. Once you do that, you almost feel into the chart. You feel into the currency. When you listen to the news, you can, it's very difficult to describe. So I can almost sense all of the banks and all of the funds where they're going to be going with the pair.
Okay.
But you need to have an idea of what happens. So for example, you need to know if interest rate goes up, what does that generally mean for a pair? This is where you look at the history. Now, I haven't looked at the patterns for about 2 years. So if I now were to go back into trading, I'm still in contact with my trading buddies. They keep asking me to come back in. But if I were to go back in, I probably wouldn't put a live trade on for at least 2-3 months, because when you trade demo, it's not the same as trading live, even with the intuition, because there is no money on the line.
You don't have skin in the game.
You don't have skin in the game. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, whatever you're thinking is always tempered, and it's very logical, and you can stay logical. And when you're doing a live trade, you get used to tempering that emotion. And the more money you put on, the more heightened it gets. And this is where all of our greed and fear comes in. So if you're not used to it and you don't know the numbers, you don't know the average percentages, for example, how many points can a currency move? What's your range? If you don't know that, you'll get caught out.
Okay. So now probably it is difficult to understand this jargon for people who are on the beginning. I understand most of it. And what would you say is great, like few tips for the beginners, where to start?
Where to start? Well, I can give you a website where I did a lot of my technical learning. That's really, really good. It's called babypips.com.
Okay.
So this is for Forex. Obviously I can't tell you for crypto is a completely different game. You need to know what you're doing. I have my trading buddy, who I still am in contact with, has started to get into crypto, and so the other thing is, if you are in a group and you have people with different skill sets, it really helps. It stops it being a very, very lonely endeavor, because trading by itself is very lonely, because you're just screen. So if you can get yourself in a group where there's lots of skill sets, it's really good. So I had in my group, we had somebody who was amazing at knowing every single thing that a piece of news meant for movement of a currency. And each person has a currency pair. So for beginners, it's like exchange rate. So if you're exchanging pounds for dollars, dollars for pounds, it's the pound dollar, euros for dollars. So it's literally the exchange rate that you're looking at. And when something happens, it can mean different things for different pairs. So it will mean something completely different, say to the dollar yen, than it would mean to the pound dollar. Some pieces of news will move one currency a lot and another very, very little. So in your group, it's good to have somebody who has done a bit of research, a strong technical person, someone who looks at data. That's really, really great. But really, I would say to somebody, focus on one pair to start with. Learn that one pair like you know the back of your hand. For me, I used to know the pound dollar and the dollar yen like the back of my hand. So I could tell you on any given day, depending on what was going on, because day by day things happen, where it's likely to start, where it's likely to end, if it's a news day, what the range would be. These are things that you just get to know.
Did you also trade the gold and USD pair?
No, I didn't trade gold USD, but I used to trade gold on its own as a commodity. And I used to trade oil. That was another thing which I traded. And with those ones, I did longer term trading. So I put less, because when you do spread betting on different things, obviously there's more risk. So some of them you have to put more in, which means that your risk is bigger. If you're doing a pound per point, for me, it was pound or dollar per point, you can do that. You can go right down to 10p per point on a currency pair. But say in gold, you're looking at putting in a minimum, it was when I was trading, a minimum of £5 per point, and gold can move 50 or 60 points in a day.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got the account balance for that, you cannot trade it. It's the same with trading indexes. I traded some indexes. You've got to put in, or it was then, a minimum of £10 per point. And an index can move hundreds of points in a day.
And what broker did you use?
I used two. I used IG index was the first one, and the other one was FXCM. FXCM was great because you could do smaller denominations. You could go right down to 10p a point on most pairs. IG started at £1 a point. But the charts, I preferred the charts on the IG, because what I would do is I would set up all of my supports and resistances so that I could see what's going on. But the main thing with regards to intuition and knowledge is once you get to know your pair, you can intuit how it's going to go just by a glance. And this was my talent. So in the morning at 6 a.m., we'd all gather together as traders, and each one, you know, we would go through each person, and they'd always start with me, Shirley, what are you thinking for today? And so I'd tell them, I'd look at the chart and I'd be like, okay, let's see, it's Monday, look at it, look at how it's been moving for the last week. Okay, this is what I think it's going to do today. Now, that was built from knowing the charts, knowing the pair, knowing where the support and resistance have been in various years. But then I can honestly say, I guess. I would guess. But guess with intuition, because my gut would tell me this is what's going to happen. So, and then, you know, they would go on and what makes you think that, Shirley? So then I would have to go back and make stuff up, rather make stuff up, but look back and say, right, what is there any rationale? Is there any backup for your intuition here? And sometimes there was, sometimes there wasn't, mostly there was. But you know, they thought I did a lot of technical analysis, a lot of fundamental analysis, and I really didn't. I didn't do it. I didn't need that much, because I would feel to my pair. And that's why also I didn't like spread to 10 different pairs, because you don't get to know the pair as much. I would treat it just like I treat business entities now, and I work with businesses. I would treat the pair as an entity, as an item, as a thing. So it's kind of like energetically speaking to it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's what I do with gold. Actually, I connect to the creator, then I connect to the gold and do some healing for it and talk to it. And then it's easier for me to receive it.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. So remember also at that point when I was trading, I actually didn't know theta healing. So
okay.
I as I said, I've been doing energy work for over 20 years. I didn't know I was doing this. I didn't know till much, much later that I was doing this. And I used to hide it, actually. I used to hide it from my group. I wouldn't say to them, this is what I feel. I would say to them, it's going to move up. Shirley, why do you think that? Well, this support says this, and this resistance says this, and it's been here before and here before, and we've got a new thingy coming up. And this is the sort of, conversation. And if you're speaking, I had all men in my group. And you can imagine when you're speaking to financial men, that's what they want to know. They don't want to know, well, this is what I feel and sense from the currency. I've been kicked out.
That's so funny. So funny.
Yeah. So I didn't know I was doing this. And actually, I spoke to my trading buddy a little while ago. He's putting together cryptocurrency workshops and things, which I said to him, I'm going to come and learn from you the crypto side, because I haven't got the will to go in and delve on my own. He's Mr. In-depth analysis. So I'll learn it from him. And because I have not been following the currency, my plan is to actually start trading again without all of the research to see how the instinct goes. Now, obviously, I'm not going to have the learning curve of the mechanics, like putting the trade on, taking the trade off. I've got the knowledge of how to do that, where to put the stops, where to put the limits, those kind of things. But I won't necessarily know so well how the pair moves. And that's what will be interesting, is can I go in almost blind and get a sense from the pair without all of the, months and years of just knowing it.
So it's actually three parts of the story that you need to be successful. You need to know the currency, you need to know the technicalities, and the intuition as well.
Yeah. And don't chop and change. The other thing which is really important is just really basic management on trades. So understanding that typical trading, how it works, is you aim for 40% losses. You aim to have 40% losses, 60% wins. So your wins are going to outbalance your losses, and that gives you your profit. And when you know that, and you know how many trades maybe you're putting on in a week, you don't get so upset when you lose, because you will lose. I think for me, one of the biggest lessons trading gave me is I like to win. I'm quite competitive. I don't compete with others, but I always compete with myself, and I win. That's what I do. Trading allowed me to be comfortable with the losses, because it's a long game. And I think just in general for business, that's really, really set me up to not get very flat when things don't happen, or launches flop, or, the client doesn't sign up, that sort of thing. I don't get so deflated, because I got used to this idea that, okay, I'm going to have losses. Just like in life, we have failures. It's normal.
You are so right.
Yeah. So once you get your head around that, and I think that's the hardest thing for a new trader to get used to, because especially if you have initially like a run of wins, and then you might get a run of losses, and then it's so easy for your confidence to just go, ooh. And then two things happen. Either you become too wary and you miss trades that are good, or you become too greedy and you try and hold on to trades too long. Or maybe you put more on, more risk.
Yeah, because you want to win it back.
Because you want to win it back. And as soon for me, I always, the other thing which I would say for any beginning trader is set up some rules. You stick to your rules. Very, very disciplined. If you're working a strategy, I had a strategy. There was times where I'd get up in the morning, and if the pair didn't fit the setup, computer closed, I'm gone, I'm out for the day. I don't touch it. And you've got to remember that you're not missing out. And that for a new trader is really difficult to do. So I may have had like a whole week where something else was going on in a different pair. So my pair was very quiet. I had to be comfortable in not trying to look for something to trade just to trade.
Because you like the adrenaline.
Because you like the adrenaline, exactly. It's a, you know, part of it is knowing when to stay out as well as when to go in. You need to know when to stay out of it. When it's really, really mega volatile, when the thing's jumping around lots, I would stay out. I don't want something flat because you're not going to get any movement and any profit, but equally you don't want something that's bouncing around erratically, because what tends to happen then is it blows your stop.
Yeah.
And then
you mentioned to me this book, which is Trade Mindfully from Gary Dayton, and I started reading it, and that's where people can learn more about how to manage their emotions, how to be organized, or how to have a strategy, right?
Yes, exactly. It's a really, really good book to calm traders down. And you do need to be level-headed. You cannot let emotions get in the way when you're trading. Intuition is different. Intuition is different from the emotion. Okay.
Yes, that was gonna be one question that I wanted to ask you. How did you know what is your intuition and what is your mind? Like, take this trade, put some money on.
So that's where your strategy rules come in place, or your rules. So for example, if you are doing, let's say you're doing a morning session, and your rule is, so I had a rule that if I lost 50 points, that was it for the day. I wouldn't continue. I wouldn't try and get it back. So basically, as soon as you start to think, I'm going to win or I'm going to lose, then you stay out, because those are your emotions. You've got to be very, 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 what's the word? Emotionless, I suppose. Robotic almost. So as soon as you get excited, so what my mentor used to say to me is, you know you're trading well when you're bored.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because then your emotions have gone. Now you're at a point where you are following your own set of rules, your own system. You are not going to let the market pull at your strings, pull at your heartstrings, pull at your fears, your things. And then when you do have the 40% losses, you're not going to get worried about it. But equally, when you have your wins, it's just like, yeah, flat. So I know that's not what most traders want to hear, but it really does work. And it's you know, you lose, next, you win, next. You don't dwell, because you're looking at a percentage account, and that's all it is.
Okay, that's not very exciting for healers like me. But where do you feel your intuition, or how would you describe when your intuition speaks to you?
Yeah, so for trading particularly, so I have developed pretty much all of my senses. So I've even got the synesthesia going on now, and the olfactory sense psychic sense as well. But particularly for trading, I will see it. So I will sense it clairvoyantly, but I'll also get it in my gut. A knowing, not a ping. It's different to a ping. So, you know, you get like the hit of inspiration. I didn't get that when I traded. What I would get was a knowing along, almost like you can see the continuation of the chart. Like you can see the future chart. So that's how I received it. But every person is different.
Yeah. And do you at the moment teach anything, like what do you do that can help people with their intuition or with this kind of skills to get more money?
So the two things which I really see help people with this kind of thing is, one, there's a course that I run which is specifically around opening up all the psychic senses but separating them out so that you have acuity in each space. Because when you're healing, sometimes you'll get a mishmash of everything. But if you can literally switch one on, switch one off, switch one on, switch one off, and have acuity, you can use that to laser in to the charts and to laser into the currencies. Because if you think about it, the way it is, it's very precise. So you need to match the energy of precision.
Yeah.
For the charting. So that's the first thing which I have. The second thing which is very helpful is people. So I do a combination of all the different human designs and energy types. And when someone knows where their intuition is kicking in and where they know how they are driven, then they can actually match that to a certain type of trading as well, because there's different types of trading, different styles. So someone with a very temperate, a temperate temperament who has patience will be able to do like long-term trading. And long-term trading is really profitable, but it is so boring. It's unreal. So you can sense that that's not my style. And someone with, for example, splenic energy or emotional energy, their issues are they're going to get inspirational hits. So if they're doing long-term trading, they're going to be like, oh, I need to pull out now. No, you're going to ride that one. Whereas if you're in the sacral a lot more, then you'll be able to do that quite happily. And also if you have a mental authority, then that's going to be fantastic. So knowing yourself will allow you to align yourself, not just with the style of long or short, but also, do you do options? Do you do shares? Do you do crypto? Do you know, all of the different styles, you can then choose and find the one that suits you rather than trying to fit yourself into it.
Okay.
Because it's the other way around. So for me, I was excellent really fast because I've got my spleen defined, I've got my emotional defined, and I've got very heightened, all the gates for intuition of mine are open. They are connected. The energy is on all the time. So the shortest, my scalp trading was literally minute by minute. So we're not even 5-minute charts. We're talking minute charts. I'd be in and out within 2-3 minutes. And if you time it right, you're looking at 20 to 30 pips a time. So that's the movement. So with those, I'd put £1 a point. I'd maybe take 10 in a session and I'd be done.
That's what I do too. I have, I like the most the minute charts because they are easy to see, like what is it doing. I don't trust yet the 15 minutes or the 1 hour. I don't see how can anyone wait 1 hour.
Well, the thing is, you need to have that to see the ranges though. Yeah. So the best charts to look at are, pardon me, is monthly. I didn't used to use weekly very often. Monthly, initially you do a year. You need to see where it's been and where is it on the range.
In a year.
Because over years. Because in the last, say, 5 years, for example, especially now, as far as I gather, things are going to have changed a lot since when I traded. So in the last 5 years, you might see a whole register of movement where a currency is now much higher than it was or much lower than it was, and it's trading in a channel. So you need to know where that channel is. And then you look back and then you can see the pattern of how long has it been in channels before? Are you reaching the end of a channel? Or, you know, is there potential? Then you look at, I used to use candlestick charts. There's formations on the charts, which shows the impulse of the market. So how many buyers are in the market? How many sellers are in the market? And you can see, like, for example, if it hits twice, it hits, comes down, hits again, comes down. The third time, once it goes past, you know it's going to break out. So you're looking, there's certain patterns that you're looking at. Baby Pips covers this very, very well, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's very, very easy to do. But yeah, looking at charts, the yearly, the monthly, and then I would go straight to 5 minute. And I would only use the 1 minute if I am scalping. And scalping is when a currency is literally bouncing in a channel.
Uh-huh.
And then what you do is you put, there's some technical lines that you put on where you catch the impulse out of the channel. So the channel is like 2 lines and it's going in between them. But then you've got, like, I call it a snake. You follow the snake, and then when it jumps out of the snake, you buy, and then you sell, and you buy it, and same on the bottom. And you can actually bounce it in. There's many strategies. You can trade it within the channel, or you can trade the breakouts of the channels. So, but yeah, all of these have strategies, and those courses teach them very well. The other thing which is great with Baby Pips is it's free, by the way.
Okay.
Don't go paying. You don't need to. There's lots of really good, there is actually really good free information.
And
so,
how do you get in one of those groups that you mentioned?
Trading groups. Usually when you're following these things like Baby Pips and these sort of things, they have their own communities.
Okay.
So again, with your instinct, you start to get to know people, and the more you're in there, you'll see the people who are posting things that make sense, and often they will have the site itself will have groups. Now, the only reason I'm telling you Baby Pips is because I know it and I know it's good, but there are many others depending on what you trade as well. Baby Pips is mainly Forex.
Yeah.
But there are other ones that are for shares, other ones that are for crypto. So you need to find the one that is relevant.
I looked at more memberships. They were like $200 a month. Like $200 a month I can put into my investment account and grow it, and not to pay it for the membership.
Yeah, no, I certainly wouldn't be paying for something until you're really comfortable that it's a good place, and also that your account, so that when you're actually trading, it's worth it. It's, you know, there's no point putting the money into the membership if you've only got £1,000 account.
Yeah,
because 5 months, that's the account gone, and the likelihood of your making, so on £1,000 account, you do 20% a year. It's not very much. But 20%, what you're looking at is percentages, because when you can prove that you've got that 20% going on year, then you can start being confident and comfortable putting more in.
Makes sense.
And the yeah. So, you know, a lot of people, they put loads in at the beginning and they blow it. I would say start small and just prove it for yourself first.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other part of that is also, you know, I was saying to you, I was doing 50 points a week, and that was my lot. If I'd done that, if I'd lost that in a week, it was gone. That was based on how much percentage I was willing to lose in a week. So working out your 40-60, if you start going over that, it's always double to get it back. That's the other thing you've got to think about. If your account's going down, the leverage percentage that you've got goes down. You've got to put more in to get more.
Makes sense. And I know there are these strategic charts and stuff, which I haven't done any of it, and I haven't been using any of it, but maybe after I read the book that you mentioned, maybe then I will.
I've got a few books that I can recommend, so I can certainly send those to you. But remember, the books are going to have outdated strategies, But what you learn from the books is more the psychology, and you pick up when I was reading the books, what I do is I'd pick up, how are these people, these people who are trading amazingly, what are the beliefs, what is going on in their mind, how are they managing their state? The state is super important. All of this aside, if you know everything and you sit in front of your screen and you're upset, pissed off, excitingly happy, it all goes out the window. And you are basically, you may as well put your money in a slot machine, because that's what you're doing. And it is, because people used to ask me, isn't it gambling? And I'm like, well, yeah, of course it is, because the conditions are out of your control. But then everything is out of your control apart from what's inside. So the only control you have is how you go into the market. That's it. But everything else is not in your control. And things can change like that. I was at a time, this was how many years ago? This must have been 5 years ago, maybe. Something like the Swiss franc was always at a set point, a fixed, they call it a peg, that it always had to be at a certain point against the dollar. It used to be, it was the dollar Swiss. And you would never trade the dollar Swiss because it had a peg. It meant it couldn't go below a certain point, Now, I remember that there was a referendum, and the Swiss managed to get the referendum through to remove the peg, which meant that the currency is now free. Now, on that day, a lot of people that I knew, they would be in lots of different trades. They weren't necessarily in the dollar Swiss if they had any brain. But some of them stayed in the dollar Swiss, banking on when the peg happened, it would shoot up.
Okay.
But they did, they'd give themselves they gave a decent stop so that if it bounced, they wouldn't be taken out, and they were banking on it going up. Now, on that day, at the beginning of the day, I removed every trade out of the market, long-term, short-term, everything. So I had no skin in the game at all. And I was watching. And what happened to the currency is it literally went from that point, and it gapped. Do you know what gapping is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It literally just free fall. It just went boom, about 300 points down. You can check this.
Wow.
Yeah. So most people, even if they had their stops, it didn't matter because there was no prices on the way down. So you can't be filled if there's no price. So the next time you're filled is where it starts to price again, which was maybe 200 points below their stop. So now they are over leveraged. People lost their homes, they lost their accounts, they were on the hook for more than their account.
Wow.
So this is why I said it's important to understand the market, because you can get caught out.
I didn't know that.
It doesn't happen as much, the gapping, but I've been told, and again, you've been watching the market more than me, that it's quite volatile at the moment.
Which is also good, in a way.
It is good. Yeah, of course it is. But this is where you need to be careful. You need to know what you're doing.
Yeah. And that reminds me of my question. So if someone doesn't know how the news affect the markets, should they, I was advised that if I don't watch the news and I don't know how it affects my currency pairs, then stay out when big news are happening, right?
Yes, 100%. And I never would watch the news on TV, because you don't get what you're looking for. The news, again, it causes emotion. So if you want to know about any kind of news that's happening, there are trading news stations that will literally just give you the bullet points of economic news. So, and even, when I had this when there were like terrorist events around the world, so it will tell you, and then you can see how it affects the currencies. It also, from your point of view, the visual news, TVs and stuff, they play on your emotions. They like to trigger you. When you are listening to it as numbers, it takes that emotion out. And also, you don't get tapped into the collective consciousness of what's going on, because that's what you want to be out of.
That's true. Yeah. That's a good point. At the moment, I don't,
you don't know,
stay out the news. Yes. But I just see on TradingView, they like give those dots. So that's when I don't trade. Otherwise, I don't check the news.
Yes, exactly. And if you're not a news, so one of the strategies which myself and my trading buddy used to do was we used to trade news. We were good at trading news, but we knew what the news did. So every month there is an interest rate announcement in the US. So we would trade the dollar yen, depending on which way it goes. There's also the dollar CAD, which we traded a lot because that had some good movement on news. Now, if you know that a news event typically moves a pair quite a lot, and you know which way it goes, you can get on those days, I would easily get 200 pips within 10 minutes sometimes. But because I knew that, okay, this has happened, and I'd set up again my scenarios. And I'd have my rules. If it hasn't moved this much within the first 5 minutes, you stay away. If it's done this, you do this. So I'd have all my scenarios set out. I would have literally an analysis piece of paper in front of me where I'd analyzed all of this. And that's when the news hits and you've got that piece of paper, this is where, if you have got to the point of trading is boring, you will literally watch it, ignore all of this, and you'll be going, all right, okay, this rule has been satisfied, this rule has been satisfied, this rule has been satisfied. Okay, so now I'm going to go in at this point. This is my stop, very calmly. This is my limit, and let it run. And I don't move it.
I wonder if I will ever get there, like to be.
Well, it takes time.
Calm.
It takes time. It takes time. I am, when I first started, I was so super successful. I mean, I was about 50 or 60% in the first little while, like few months. And then I lost it all because it was all on excitement and I didn't know how to manage my state. So I was like, whoosh, amazing, like 300-400 pounds a day. And then when you're thinking, oh yes, my account's getting better, I can up leverage, I can put more in because now I've got more to play with. But my experience and state hadn't matched the level that I wanted to play at. So I would say, go slow, add bits. I learned to add 50p at a time.
This is very useful conversation for me, and I hope for other people watching as well. And I'm mindful of the time. So anything else you want to add to the end? Something that you think people would like to hear?
Work on your greed and scarcity mindset.
Yes.
And the last thing, which I would say is really important, do not put anything in that you are not willing to lose. And when I say lose, that you would literally take it and just give it away. So I know people, I've just literally come off a webinar where a lady lost her entire life saving, 2 million Australian dollars in a cryptocurrency free fall. Now, she knows she can make it back because her business is going well, but she literally lost everything, her home, all her life savings.
Cool.
Yeah. So do not put anything in. Don't put anything in you're not willing to lose. And yeah, that's it. But it's super fun, by the way. All of that aside, it is really fun. It's a really great way to, I did it when I was actually post burnout after I'd come out of finance. I was actually in burnout for a long time. And because I wasn't dealing with people, and I'm an empath, as you know, because I wasn't dealing with people, I had all this time for my body to calm and heal. and release, because I didn't have the bombardment of people. So it was actually a very, very safe way of interacting with the world at a time when I wanted not to interact with anything.
That's what I like about trading as well, that I don't have to wait from anyone to pay me. I can go in the market, look at some charts, and okay, I'm gonna make some money here or here, and I don't need anyone.
Yeah. It's on your terms. And as I said, when you're looking when that's just what you're doing, get it to the point where it's boring. Imagine it like a boring job.
Okay. I am looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is, yeah. Okay, sorry.
Go on.
Go for it. I was just going to say, there's another thing you can do. If you do have, for those people who are watching, who have larger amounts of money, because not everyone starts small. Some people have got loads and they can put it in the market. What is a really good idea that you can do is you can set up a mirror account, because when you are working with smaller denominations, you can be calmer. But when you see your account, say you've got 500,000 or 800,000 in your account, the temptation is to go big because there's a lot in there. But what you can do is you can take a portion out, say 2,000 or whatever, put it into a separate account, and you can set up so that it mirrors in the bigger account. So what that means, whatever percentage you use in the smaller account, the same percentage is mirrored in the larger account. And that stops the temptation of going too big at a percentage risk level. So this is for all you guys for all the people maybe who are watching you, who are maybe do have good chunks of money to put in. It just helps you to manage your risk.
Yeah, very, very useful.
And stay concerned. I used to work with no more than 1% risk, 1%. And still managed to do 20% easy over the year. Some years it was 30% with just 1% risk on a trade.
Good. Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. And I will stick your contact details below if anyone wants to contact you and see what you do, ask about any of your courses or sessions.
Sure, that would be lovely.
Okay.
Thank you, Judith. It was so lovely to talk trading again. So thank you for opening up this conversation.
Thank you.